Yeah, we see we have the children going to children's church. Thank you all for teaching that. Uh, wasn't expecting to be here this week. Brother Wilkie um, has family coming in. I think they decided to come visit. So we were going to have him out next week, if I'm not mistaken. But we decided to switch it up a little bit. But I'm glad it worked out this way because we had our congregational meeting last week. Um, and that was the best one that I've been a part of. And it was very inspirational for me. So I'm speaking from that inspiration. But is it okay if I talk to y'all today? Just have a discussion with you. I mean, I know I have my sermon and everything, but I want this to be a discussion. Um, because I think what we talked about last week was some very good information. And again, it was inspirational for me because it's talking about where we're headed as a congregation. The meeting was impactful to me because it was complex in its simplicity, if you understand what I'm saying. We didn't say a whole lot, but what we did say spoke volumes about where we're headed. And we were very transparent, which is very important. Um, but it talked about our direction. That's kind of like where I want to be today. I do want to reference where I'm going to be reading from today. We're going to be talking about Nehemiah. Um, and the reason why I wanted to be more conversational is because I'm going to do my Wilkie impersonation. I'm going to be brief. I'm not going to look at Sean. I'll look at you, Jeremy. I'll look at you for a change. Um, I am concerned about the weather. We dodged a bullet, but they say there may be a system coming in later. May not happen, but just in case. But I also want to be brief because it's not much really that I want to kick around beyond what I'm going to talk about. I don't want to go too far into it. If this was more of a series, if Brother Wilkie wasn't here and we had more time, I might develop it more. But really, where I want to sit is plain enough. Hopefully, I'll make it plain. Um, we're going to talk about Nehemiah in general. But I do want to sit down at Nehemiah 2, middle of Nehemiah 2. And we're talking, I like speaking about Nehemiah because I think it has a lot of parallels, has a lot of connections that we can make. But I think after last week, that connection for me was very strong because there's a lot of change that might be coming here. Um, and it's not just involving us, it could involve other moving parts. But nonetheless, we have a work before us that we're going to be working on. And that takes me to Nehemiah. As we know, Nehemiah um, was serving at a time of where the Jews were exiled from Jerusalem. They were sent to the Babylonian Empire had um, laid waste to Jerusalem. And in that process, they had leveled the city and they had leveled the walls of the city, of the town, of the capital, Jerusalem. And many were exiled. Um, and there was a core that stayed back. And we're going to talk about the relationship between what we call the remnant and those that came back. But they were separated. And Nehemiah, being a cupbearer at the time to the king, um, had heard about the devastation that had happened in Jerusalem. And um, he's inspired to change things. He's in a comfortable position. He's in a place where he's got a comfortable life, but something pulls at him, and something pulls him out of his uh, state of being, so to speak, hearing about the destruction that's happened in Jerusalem. And he's thinking, well, I need to uh, address this. Early in the week, we were talking about Dr. King, and we were talking about his inspiration and how Gandhi had inspired him, and how Gandhi was a lawyer and he was in a comfortable existence. He had a life where he could afford many things. He didn't have to worry about the troubles of the world. But as he heard and saw about the conditions in India, he got pulled out of that existence. He couldn't sit back. He had to uh, get involved, and he had to kind of shake things up. And Nehemiah is in that same position where, as a cupbearer, we think it's just someone who provides the cup to the king. They test it, make sure it's not poison, and then, they just give it to, like almost like a food. We've downgraded that position. We've not really looked at the true symbolism of that position. That position comes with a lot of trust. You become an advisor as a cupbearer. And Nehemiah had that pull, and he used that influence to allow a return to Jerusalem. So when I sit down here on chapter 2, I'm going to be looking at New King James. Yeah. I don't usually use that version, but I want to make sure I have a good version for everybody to follow. But nonetheless, there have been several visitations to Jerusalem to help to rebuild Jerusalem itself. And also, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. I don't know if it's because this mic is on. Yeah, I'll back up a little bit. But so Nehemiah is just one of 3 different visits. The first visit, they're trying to repair the temple itself. Nehemiah is coming to repair the wall, as we're going to read. Ezra came to reestablish the law. So they're trying to rebuild Jerusalem in all these stages, but I want to talk about specifically Nehemiah because he has a task in front of him, which is the wall. Here, University Parkway, we have a task, which is like a wall. And we're going to see what it requires when you have a task in front of you and how you need to address it. But as he prepares for this great work, and this should be for anything that we do, he starts by appealing to God. So in the early parts of the chapter, he's praying to God. Every step of the way he's making a prayer to God. He's appealing to God. And he's asking for favor as he goes about this task. So that's the first step when we are undertaking any work, appealing to God, whether starting your car in the morning. I've been there. Starting your car, driving to work, dealing with your coworkers, dealing with your classmates, all those things start with your application, your prayer to God. But I want to sit down on verse 2. We're going to look at starting at 11. And that's going to be like the meat of what I want to talk about. Then I'm going to just finish my discussion and then we're going to move on. But in verse 11, I went to Jerusalem, and after staying there 3 days, I set out during the night with a few others. I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts with me except one. I was riding on mounts, being, your horse and your steed, and the wall was so damaged he couldn't even have a huge gathering around him. He could only fit basically like himself through the wall to survey. By night, I went out through the valley gate toward the Jackal Well and the Dung Gate, examining the walls of Jerusalem, which had been broken down, and its gates, which had been destroyed by fire. Then I moved on toward the Fountain Gate and the King's Pool, but there was not enough room for my mount to get through. So I went up the valley by night, examining the wall. Finally, I turned back and re-entered through the valley gate. The officials did not know where I had gone or what I was doing, because as of yet, I had said nothing to the Jews or the priests or nobles or officials or any others who would be doing the work. Then I said to them, "You see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace." I want you to understand, when you're talking about a wall, especially a city, during that time. The wall, it's your identity. It's your way of telling the outside world we're secure and we're serious. If I have a serious wall, that means I'm serious about who I am and who I'm protecting. So if your wall is in disrepair, that's your identity. If I stand before you guys with, torn shorts, my hair is disheveled, that's my outer appearance. And you might not take me serious. But the wall is the same. Your wall talked about how serious you all were as a community. So in disrepair, it's disrespectful. It's not presentable. And it's also unsafe. You're easy to be sacked, ransacked, taken over. You don't exist without walls in this world. So he's understanding the trouble that they're in. Jerusalem is lying in ruins. But he's saying, come, let us rebuild the wall. I also told them about the gracious hand of my God on me and what the king had said to me. Now, this is where I want to sit for a minute and just have my discussion. And it says, they replied, let us start rebuilding. So they began this good work. So when we had our meeting last week, and we talked about the vision here at University Parkway, we talked about everything from, evangelism and how we need to grow outside of these walls. We talked about having a parking lot problem, if you know what that means, having so many cars here that we don't know where to go. We talked about pulling up the pews, the very seats that you all are sitting in might not even be here next year. We are talking about a lot of change, and we're talking about changing what's going on here, but we're not just talking about the physical aspects of pulling a pew or addressing the parking lot. We're also talking about a mental change. So how are we going to adjust? How are we going to prepare for said change? How do we get outside of our comfort zone when it comes to this change? So a lot of what we're talking about repairing this wall here at University Parkway. We're not just talking about physical. Individually, what gifts do you have to share? Because I'm not going to read it, but as I allude to what's going to happen in 3, they really meant, let's build this together. So if you have individual talents, if you have gifts, how are you going to share that with everyone in this body? And not only how are you going to share it, how do we come together collectively? How do we address not just what we are, but who we are? Because the what is, we're a bunch of Christians that come here, we meet on Sundays and throughout the week or what have you. But then we have to look at who we are. And as you say, whose we are. Okay, so when we are talking about rebuilding, we have to get outside of this mindset. We just had to change a couple of chairs and add a couple of curtains. We put the curtain rod up here over the baptism, but it's now talking about our heart and preparing for change. And the thing that gets me, and it was most impactful, is about what possibilities could happen. Because we have a wall here at University Parkway, and we've been working on that wall for a little bit. The little pieces here and there, the parsonage, the baptism, other things that we have in place that are physical. Harford County has been working on their wall. They've been trying to get a building for a couple of years now, and they're still trying. One thing that touched me, and we're going to talk about this in a second. I'm still going to be brief. But one thing that touched me was that while we were exiled, so to speak, we didn't have a formal leader. We were between preachers, and that kind of caused some shifts, some conflicts, and some confusion, and you're kind of trying to figure out how do we shore this up. Harford County said, you know what? There's a need at University Parkway. And they sent Brother Wilkie to us to help us to kind of right the ship. He was almost like Nehemiah. He kind of came, because Nehemiah did the same thing. When he inspected the wall, notice he said, I went out at dark. And he kind of eased into the situation. Brother Wilkie also eased in, and he kind of just inspected this wall here at University Parkway to see, okay, what do you all need? I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm going to just kind of watch and see how things operate. But they allowed him. Keep in mind, they're in exile too. They're between buildings. They're worshiping at another congregation. So they're also between buildings. So in that current condition, they said, you go and you help University Parkway. You help get their ship right. Help get them straight. Help get them prepared for the preacher that they're looking to hire. So they're in exile. They're in between. They're that remnant, that core that stayed back in Jerusalem. They're the same type of remnant that's waiting to restore, waiting to rebuild their own wall. But they said, you go. So he's with us. And he's helping us, and he's seeing things that we may not see. He's helping us to hone our vision. He's helping us to see this wall that we have to build, because one thing about Nehemiah is he organized people. And he took the people and he said, we have this work before us. How do we fix this wall? So that's happening here now. How do we fix this wall here, physically, mentally, and spiritually? And as we learned last week from the congregational meeting, Harford County is having trouble with their wall. Harford County is having struggles. And Brother Wilkie even said it, they may come start to worship here the first of the month just to get some respite. And we want to welcome them with open arms. But the potential is also there that they may not have a place to return to. And I think I used the term pull up. I said, come on. That's me. I'm speaking for me. I'm not speaking for University Parkway. But I said, come on. And I said it because they said the same thing when we needed help. Because as we go to Nehemiah 3, after he said, let us, and they replied, let us rebuild this wall. I'm not going to read it. There's too many names. It's a lot of names in there. But what you have to pay attention to, it's not the names, it's the different types of people. Ordinary people coming together with different talents, working on one goal. And the thing, if you read it, it said many of them worked on the wall opposite of their backyard. So we all know what a backyard is. We've all had a backyard. When you were younger, you go play in the backyard. That was your space, right off of your house. Some of us got older. Take care of your backyard. Cut the grass, rake the leaves, take care of your backyard. Sometimes people say, I can't take care of other backyards. I can only worry about mine. So you know what a backyard is. It's personal. It's your possession. And this wall was supposed to surround the whole city. So you had many different sections. You had many different gates. So everybody had a section of the wall. And what I'm trying to uncover is many people worked on sections not even facing their backyard. So Harford County said, okay, we're going to help repair your section of the wall, not even our section, even though we're in need. So when I said pull up, I said it because you helped my section. I want to help your section. And as I get ready to close, I want us to pay attention to this one important detail. Because before I've been talking about walls. We got walls in Harford County. We got walls in Woodlawn. We got walls in Central, Inner City. all over the country, all over the world. We got these individual walls. But that's not true. We have one wall. We're just working on sections. And so what that relationship with Harford County taught me was we're working on the same wall. When we have 24 hours of prayer and it reaches all over the world, we're all talking about different sections of the wall, but it's the same wall that we're trying to repair and restore. When we have Fifth Sunday, and I don't think a lot of people understand how important the Fifth Sunday movement is. Fifth Sunday is the embodiment that we have one wall. My section might be over here, yours might be over there, but it's one wall. And even though I have my section here, it means nothing for me to come help you with your section over there. So in the spirit of Nehemiah, we have to hone our gifts and our talents, as Brother Wilkie has been talking about. And we share those gifts with each other. But the with each other is not just University Parkway. If we are to repair this wall, if we are to restore this wall, then it requires working on other sections of the wall as well. And they in turn with us. So it's like a pitch for 24 hours of prayer that we have coming up next year. That's a pitch for the Fifth Sundays. People saw us at Central, had no idea what this building was about. But they do now. They understand that this is the University Parkway section of the wall. Same for Harford County, whether it's going to be Harford County at Harford County or Harford County at University. That's the wall that God would have us to work on. That's the God that we serve. So those gifts that we have, those are the gifts that we're giving up to. The service, the wall that Christ has established. This church, this body, is not determined by address. So I said, I'm going to be brief. I'm going to close out. We're going to prepare to stand and sing, but I want us to take that into this new year. I don't know what plans God has in store, but I know if he has those plans, I'm going to stick to them as they are revealed to me. Because my wife says, oh, this is his church, not mine. His will be done, not mine. So let us stand and sing. If you have prayers, you have notes of thanksgiving, we will, after the song, we will have the microphone come around and I will say a prayer and just pray for you and just thank you for your presence. Thank you for hearing me this morning.
Have you been to Jesus for the cleansing power, washed in the blood of the Lamb? Holy, our King, praise his now, washed in the blood of the Lamb. Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotlessly white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
I want to stop for a second because we, new year, new us. And we don't like to always say that because we should be the same, we should be consistent. But I don't want us to just sing after the sermon, move on, prayer requests, announcements, and then we head into the parking lot. We have a baptism here. It's been heated, it's been prepared, it's ready. I don't want us to go into this new year not understanding what that means, what this is here for. Whether you are here or you're online, Have you thought about your relationship with Jesus? Have you internalized what Jesus has done for you? You know, we're singing a song, Are You Washed? Have you been washed by the blood? If you have not been washed by the blood, even if you're not here, if you're online, come seek us out. Because we don't want to just have a routine that we go through. I remember we said about growth, and you have to step out from your comfort zone. No one wants to put people on the spot, but we are concerned. We are here like an emergency room. I can't do the saving, but I know the physician that can save you. So I need for you to understand how serious your relationship with Jesus is. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be a magician that I wave my hand and then streams of people will come up here and ready to get in the pool. But I want to open you up to a conversation. Just have a conversation. If you have questions, we have people here that will answer your questions. If you have a desire, come seek us out, male or female, whoever you're comfortable with. Sit down and have a conversation. But let it start today. It may not end with you in the pool, but let it start today as we finish our song. But I don't want us to just move past this moment and tread light. I want you to understand that we are about the business of saving souls. And we're about the business of growing this church, not just numbers, but really bringing people to Jesus. We can't move past this moment without you understanding how serious this is. And let this be the year that you look at your relationship with Jesus.